Okay, I mean, I think it's really important to recognise that in Scotland and in Ireland we've got very similar cultures and behaviours in relation to alcohol, and a lot of the harms that we experience are very similar as well, and a lot of that's to do with the availability of ever cheaper alcohol, which is ever more available. Now, what we've done in Scotland is in 2009 the government, which was a minority government at that time, introduced a package of 41 measures to challenge the problems that we've actually been experiencing with alcohol. One of the main items within that manifesto was the introduction of minimum unit pricing, which would tackle the cheapest, most available alcohol, which harms the people with the most alcohol problems. Now, what's happened since then is in 2012 the legislation came into force, and people are not necessarily always aware of this. We have in Scottish law already minimum unit pricing. It was legislated for in the Scottish Parliament with not a single vote against it. But what happened immediately after that, as the same thing has happened with the tobacco industry, the global alcohol producers, fronted by the Scotch Whisky Association in Scotland, launched a series of legal campaigns to appeal against the legislation. The Scottish Government gave an undertaking that it would not implement the legislation until all of the legal challenges had been exhausted. And the Scottish population, led by NGOs like my own, Scottish Health Action on Alcohol Problems, Alcohol Focus Scotland, have been really leading a campaign ever since then to get this legislation implemented. And now what's happened is it's been through all of the Scottish courts, and the Scottish courts have found that this is appropriate legislation to deal with a real public health problem. It's legitimate, it's proportionate, and it's also up to the Government of Scotland to implement it. It's not for the European Union to be implementing it. Of course, at every stage, the industry has lied. They've put out suggestions that the court case has been unsuccessful, that the government is going to backtrack. They've put constant pressure on this whole issue, but they have not succeeded. It's an appropriate public health intervention to deal with to try and do something about the 22 deaths that we have in Scotland every week because of alcohol, and particularly because of cheap alcohol. Now, the way that the system works in the UK is, having exhausted the Scottish legal process, there's one more place for the industry to go, and that's the Supreme Court in London. They'll be hearing the appeal in July, 24th and 25th of July this year. We and the Scottish Government deeply regret that they've actually taken it this far. It's already been through the Scottish courts already. We've no doubt whatsoever that the Supreme Court will find resoundingly in our favour, and actually the industry Scottish whisky makes a big thing about making a big contribution to the culture and to the economy of Scotland. The way that they've actually operated in this just shows that they actually value their profits and prioritise their profits more than the health of the Scottish population, and that's deeply regrettable. However, we are absolutely certain that the legislation will be implemented. The government is laying down regulations, and the timetable, as far as we know at the moment, is that we expect the legislation to be in place and operating at long last in February 2018.